Bo Nix just continues to rack up the awards. Could he enter the CJ Stroud type of territory soon? We're going to break it down, and the keys to beating the Las Vegas Raiders the first time in Vegas. We're giving our final picks for the weekend, and it all starts now. Bo is the dude. Another award for Bo Nix. Let's frickin' Bo on the DNVR Broncos podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. Of course, we are sitting inside the DNVR Bar, and we are presented by Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Deposit $10, place a $5 bet. You're going to get $150 in bonus bets, plus Altitude Plus, courtesy of our friends over at Bet365. Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis, how you doing today?
Feeling good, man. Not as good as Bo, but I'm doing all right.
Man, just another award. Actually, two more awards since the last time we spoke. Todd, 24 hours ago, Bo Nix was named the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, meaning he's the best player on the offensive side of the ball in the AFC for this past week. Then, a couple of hours after we signed off, Bo Nix was named the FedEx Ground Player of, or Air and Ground Player of the Week. Do you know who else won that award? Two people won it this week.
Jared Goff?
I would have thought Jared Goff.
Oh, he didn't win
Bo
it.
Nix won this over Jared Goff,
Nice.
despite Jared Goff having 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. They were that impressed with Bo. It's more of the
ground player.
more of the ground part. You got to get creative here.
Oh. I don't know if I'm feeling creative yet.
Okay,
Who is it?
I'll give you a hint. A Sean Payton connection.
Alvin Kamara?
Close. A different.
You know who it is?
A different-
Is it a running back from Sean's time?
A different looking Alvin Kamara that Sean Payton loves.
Think tight end.
Think tight end, think quarterback,
Oh,
think
you're talking about Taysom
receiver.
Hill.
Yes,
Oh, okay,
Taysom
okay.
Hill, who had, 188 total yards or something?
Yeah.
It was crazy. He had, 3 touchdowns, too. So this was Sean Payton's week, man. He loves Taysom Hill. He obviously loves Bo Nix. Jose in the Toyota chat got that one right. Taysom Hill. So Bo won that one, and then just less than an hour ago, Bo Nix took home the final award. I think he's just got them all at this point. The final one for a second consecutive week. Bo Nix was named the Rookie of the Week. So Todd, Bo Nix is named the best AFC Offensive Player this week and the best rookie in the NFL.
Are these physical awards? Do you get an extra? I think
Great question.
you should get. I mean, I don't know if you do, but I mean, he's gonna have to start a trophy room soon because he keeps racking them up. And then we're at week 12 in the NFL.
Yep.
So for the past 5 weeks, he's been the best rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not in consideration for rookie of the year, something's very wrong.
So we talked about it, 2 days ago, that he was at plus 350 to win Rookie of the Year. Jaden Daniels minus 500. After yesterday's award, it went down to plus 320. That was after yesterday's first award. I bet after this award today, he's going to be in the 200 somewhere.
Yeah.
So he hasn't played football, but people are starting to put some more respect on his name in the past couple of days just because he's finally racking up these awards. So that's why, when the Pro Bowl is a joke and guys that, shouldn't be given Pro Bowls or given Pro Bowls, that hurts. No, Trevor absolutely deserved. I'm talking about Snoop Huntley, who had a losing record and more interceptions than touchdowns or something when he won it. It hurts, and it's easy to dismiss it as oh, it's just the Pro Bowl, that it doesn't matter. It does, because at the end of their careers, those guys are stacked up to Pro Bowls and All Pros. All Pros are more serious than that. And we're seeing how serious these awards can be right now because these are helping Bo's case to finally get the recognition he deserves to move up there and to be truly competing for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, when you start your second half of your career and whatever you've done, it's not so much totals as far as like tackles or passing yards. It's all about your All Pros or Pro Bowls or Player of the Weeks or Rookie of the Years. Like all that stuff matters. So it would be huge for a young Broncos quarterback to win Rookie of the Year. Yeah,
it would be. And speaking of young Broncos rookie quarterback, Bo Nix became the first Broncos rookie quarterback to win AFC Offensive Player of the Week. I think I mentioned that yesterday. But if not, want to make sure that history is out there. And he's probably going to become the first Broncos rookie to win this award multiple times because I bet he stacks one more on, especially got some easy games coming up, Todd. And I want to continue this conversation about Bo because I want to get ahead of the conversation here. Right now, the conversation is about should Bo be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. Of course, we've already discussed why he absolutely should be. Probably is on track to win that award.
Yep.
Todd, I want to take one step further, and you can tell me if I'm crazy here. But I look at the next two games coming up for the Broncos. The Raiders, who have a terrible defense, they're a terrible team. And I look at the Browns, who are 2-8 right now, also a terrible team. And I see a path where in 2 weeks, people are talking about, oh my gosh, Bo isn't just a really good rookie. Bo isn't just the front runner for Rookie of the Year. Bo is in the conversation for a C.J. Stroud type of Rookie of the Year. And that was just last year, so it's all fresh on our minds. We all know what that means. Like, arguably the best rookie of the best rookie quarterback performance ever. I think we're 2 weeks away, realistically 2 weeks away from that being the case with Bo. Because I could see him going out there and going 6 total touchdowns over the next 2 weeks, 1 interception, and I dare to say no interceptions even. So I'm seeing maybe not back-to-back 300-yard games, but 500 total more passing yards added to his total. He's averaged that over the past month, and 5-6 touchdowns.
We have to see it before we can start calling it. We can't put the cart before the horse. I think he's doing really well. I think he's playing well. Last week was his best week by far, but I think it was an outlier to some extent. He's never had a game even close to that.
It's fair.
So, you just have to see it, repeat it before I can just say he can do this and go on a tear for the next 6 weeks.
Okay, yeah, boo.
What do you mean?
That. I
gotta be honest.
Henry's still not feeling the best. He is on the up right now. But
he's on the chat.
I don't know if he's actually in here.
To say.
So yeah, I wanted to give an update.
If he's commenting, he needs to be in here.
He's feeling better. But what I'll say is, Todd Henry would probably agree 100% with what you're saying. Like, what are we doing? Why are we thinking this way?
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm thinking this way is because of the way Bo is trending. And I understand you and probably Henry saying, I need to see it, more times than not.
Yeah.
But what I say is, man, 11 touchdowns in the past month, 257 passing yards on average in the past month. I don't think it's crazy against two bad teams that he goes out and continues this stretch on what he's at now. And if he does, let's just live in my world. You can call it fantasy world. I'll say hopeful, realistic world. If he does, Todd, he will be right in this conversation because that'll be through 13 games. If he goes out, and let's say he does have 5 touchdowns, that would be a 3-touchdown game and a 2-touchdown game. Realistic?
Yes.
Yes. Man, you're hesitant to say it. He's averaged 2.5 touchdowns, 2.75 touchdowns over the past month per game.
Yeah.
So let's say he continues that, 5 touchdowns and 500 passing yards. That would put Bo on the season at 19 passing touchdowns, but we know he also has the 5 other touchdowns. So that would be 24 total touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and about 2,800 yards. At this exact point last year, through 13 games for C.J. Stroud, the same sample size, C.J. had an incredible 3,600 passing yards. So Bo would be far away from that. There's no doubt about that. but CJ Stroud had 23 total touchdowns at that point of the season. Bo would be at 24 total. 24 total touchdowns. So Bo would have the lead in touchdowns, and CJ Stroud had 5 interceptions compared to Bo's 6 interceptions. But CJ also did have a lost fumble, so six turnovers for CJ compared to 6 for Bo as well. Bo has one more total touchdown, and CJ has like 800 more yards.
Yeah, I think it's a little stretch. I think just almost 1,000 yards more, like, and even a less interception, in 2 weeks from now, because we don't know what's going to happen with Bo. And I pray he doesn't throw any interceptions, but what CJ did last year, it's hard to replicate. Even though I think Bo's having a great year, we can't, put them in the same category just yet.
The interesting thing is CJ did miss 2 games last year. So in terms of numbers, Bo will have an opportunity to catch up there. But you're living in a realistic world. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. There is the Las Vegas Raiders, Todd, that the Broncos have to play this week. They've never beaten them in Las Vegas. Let's dive into this game. And before we do, I want to ask you guys, who do you agree with? Do you agree with Todd being like, nah, too realistic? Or do you agree with me like, man, no, this is possible for in a couple of weeks? We're talking about an all-time season from a rookie for Bo Nix. Let me know in the Toyota chat. And let's dive into the Raiders. But before we do that, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Bird Call, where Bird Call has delicious. Whoa, that was incredible. They need to hire you to do their sound animations. That was impressive, Tom.
Listen to a lot of Birdman growing up, so.
The basketball player?
No, exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, if you like Birdman the artist, I imagine.
Yes.
Birdman the basketball player, you're going to love Bird Call, where right now, they just have the best chicken, whether you want Nashville hot chicken, Nashville extra hot chicken, or some chicken sliders. They've got it. In fact, if you want to try a couple of different things that they have, they've got the Bird in the Box, which is $9.95 to build your own bird in a box. Well, with your choice of 2 crispy sliders, you can get different ones, or 1 slider and 2 tenders, plus tots or fries, pickles, and one of their signature sauces. And again, you can upgrade to Nashville hot tenders if you want. Bird Call is delicious. We love it. I love it. Had it just 2 weekends ago. Might even have it this week as well. They have 8 restaurants across the Front Range, and you can get 20% off over at birdcall.com by using the code DNVR over at eatbirdcall.com to get 20% off. Off valid for any order of $10 or more. Limit 1 per guest per day. Not valid on catering orders or third-party delivery sites.
And shout out to Westera Credit Union. We told you guys a lot of times about Westera Credit Union. And, they're founded here in 1934 here in Colorado with 9 locations in the Denver metro area, and have a special thing for the new members. Season's greetings from Westera Credit Union. The holiday season from November 13th through December 31st. They want to give your wallet a gift. New members who open a Smart Money checking or Money Market Select account will get $100 on January 2nd. All you have to do is join, open one of those new accounts, enroll in digital banking, and you're on your way to getting $100. You can visit westeracu.com/become-a-member to learn more. Membership eligibility required, insured by the NCUA. Restrictions and conditions apply.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. All right, Todd, let's dive into the terrible Raiders. Man, that sounds so good. Yesterday we talked about how the Broncos broke the Jets. Mm-hmm. The Broncos also broke the Raiders. When the Broncos and Raiders played in Week 5, the Raiders were 2-2. They had beat the Ravens on the road, and it was like, from a Broncos perspective, are you kidding me right now? The Chiefs, the Chargers, who were on the trending up and still are, and it was like, are the Raiders actually okay? We thought they were going to be bad. No, they're bad. The Broncos broke them. They have not won a game since, or before they played the Broncos. The Broncos started their 6-game losing streak that they're currently on. And honestly, Todd, I think Pat Surtain broke the Raiders, because we talked about that pick 6, how important that was, how that was season-changing for the Broncos. what we didn't talk about, because we don't care about the Raiders, was that was season-changing for the Raiders. Literally destroyed their season. They're sitting at 2-8 right now. They've fired their entire offensive staff, and Antonio Pierce seems to be on the hot seat right now, and a lot of people think they're going to have the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
They're not looking good right now. Got rid of Devontae Adams as well. But no, that pick, I think, definitely changed the course of their season. I mean, they were rolling to start that game. If they had, gotten that touchdown to Brock Bowers, maybe they wouldn't be on a 6-game losing streak. But they're not a very good team. They're in shambles.
Yep.
It's the AFC West, so it's going to be tougher than you expect, no matter what. But it should be an easy win for the Denver Broncos.
Why is that the case? Why are division games closer?
Because teams just know you so well. We've already played once this year. Kind of know what you like to do. I remember some of your checks, your play calls.
Yeah.
How you think on third and shorts versus third and longs. I've seen it before, and even when I watch other opponents, when I watch the Chargers, when I'm about to play them, it's a lot of Broncos film that I see. Like every team that you play, you're constantly getting more of the Broncos, so you have a good understanding for them, especially the second time you play them.
So it doesn't really matter that they have a new offensive staff now from like Vance Joseph scouting them, because he's still watched so much of their tape since.
Yeah, because you can't reinvent the wheel. Like you may be able to add, a couple plays a week with what you like to do, but there's things that your team is very familiar with and understands. Like you can't run all new stuff.
Yeah.
Something has to cross over from the old staff to the new staff.
That's very fair, and that's like what so many people say about the NFL and playing division games. Even when the Broncos weren't really competitive, I mean, you have to go back 5 years, I think. I think it was 2019, the last time the Broncos were blown out by the Chiefs. For the most part, even though the Chiefs were winning Super Bowls and the Broncos didn't even have winning records, those games were always close. So a lot of things point that way, Todd. But I don't think this game's going to be close because the Raiders are that bad. It's on both sides of the ball. But, man, looking at how they've been since the Broncos played them, they were like a formidable opponent. Again, coming off a win against the Ravens, they were 2-2. They looked okay. Now they have completely fallen off, and there's 2 things for the Raiders that are just dismal going up against this Broncos team. On their offensive side of the ball, they have the worst running team in the NFL. It's not the biggest surprise because they let Josh Jacobs go. They didn't want to pay him the big bucks, and they just went with like running backs by committee that people barely knew, and it shows. Fewest rushing yards, worst yards per attempt. I think they're like bottom 3 in rushing touchdowns as well. So they are just dismal on the ground. And we just saw the Broncos go up against Bijan Robinson. He didn't face a stack box once, and he couldn't run for 3 yards per carry. This Broncos front is playing so good. I can't imagine what they're going to do against a bad rushing team, the worst rushing team.
Really bad. It's never that easy for me. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I've been in those games where all of a sudden you look up and you're like, how are we tied with them going into the third quarter? Like, I've been in those football games. But nevertheless, it should be an easy day for the Broncos. Like, the Broncos try to make every team one-dimensional, make you pass the ball so that their back end and their front can rush because that's what they're best at. Like, if you're not even bringing running backs to the game, like, it should be a really easy game for the Broncos and a really easy game to scheme up from Vance Joseph.
Yeah, exactly. And then when they do try to throw the ball, because they can't run the ball, so they have to throw the ball, it doesn't matter which quarterback's in there. They are throwing interceptions left and right. They have the 6th most interceptions in the NFL. And we talked about yesterday how, like, statistically, really the only thing the Broncos defense can do better over these final 6 games of the season is get takeaways. This is one where you can get 4 takeaways in this game, and then you go from the 15th most in the NFL, then you're in top 10. But this is a game where the Broncos, I don't want to say need to, but really should get at least 2 takeaways. Todd, you've played defense. You know how easy or difficult takeaways can be going up against bad teams. Is that a fair request for me saying they should really get 2, at least?
They must. They have to.
Okay.
I mean, this is a team that's struggling. They're pressing. Their quarterbacks are trying to make plays. I mean, both of their quarterbacks are on the hot seat. Like, everybody's trying to make plays, and that causes you to make a lot of mistakes. So they're already turning the ball over a lot. You know, And they can't be the one team that doesn't get the turnovers. Like they're giving it to every team, but then the Broncos don't get any. The Broncos have a good defense. They have to get turnovers. They have to make big plays. Yeah, without a doubt. Not even like a request. It's a must for at least 2.
I love that. Okay, then I'm going to say they need it. And that's how this turns into a blowout. I think the Broncos can win by getting 0 turnovers right in this game just because the Raiders are that bad, and I think the Broncos offense is this competent. But if they get 2 takeaways, the game's an absolute blowout. And we saw that the last time the Broncos and Raiders played. Yep. Broncos, that actually was a must that Pat Surtain got that interception, and then Riley Moss got him later in the game as well. And that was multiple turnovers, and that led to a blowout, but it was not a blowout before those turnovers happened. There's one guy, though, on the Raiders that, I mean, I'm personally overlooking the Raiders, and I think that's okay. There's one guy that you can't overlook, and that is Brock Bowers. That's a rookie tight end. Sean Payton loved Brock Bowers coming out of the draft. If the Broncos would have stuck with Russell Wilson, or I'm trying to even think, wouldn't have gone
Jarrett
a rookie
Stidham.
in the first round. Yeah,
couldn't remember his name.
No, I was trying to think like what if they signed Sam Darnold instead, or something like that. Yeah, or stuck with Jarrett Stidham, or decided Zach Wilson was the future. If they decided to not go quarterback in the first round, Brock Bowers would have been the Broncos' pick at 12. I'm very confident with that.
And he would have been a good player. I just, I think you're only as good as your quarterback. And even though Brock Bowers is having a really good season, I think he's 70 catches. He's like on pace to break Nakua's record for like most receptions by a rookie.
Yep.
I mean, it would have been great to have, but at the end of the day, it's not helping to win games, obviously.
No.
They've only won 2 games, right?
Right. Yeah.
So as great as you are as an individual player, the team runs through your quarterback. And I love Brock Bowers. I love this guy. I mean, we talked about it on the show. Like, I wanted them to take Brock Bowers in the draft, but I think I'm happy with the decision they made right now.
How good would Rob Gronkowski have been without Tom Brady?
He would have been solid, but he wouldn't have been, Hall of Famer. I don't know. It's very, very interesting.
How good was Travis Kelce before Patrick Mahomes?
He was solid, but he wasn't the man.
Just proving your point there, Todd. I mean, I'm sure Brock Bowers would have been good for this Broncos team, but you have to have the quarterback first. So there's no doubt that the Broncos made the right decision with Bo. But the Broncos do have to respect him, and they will.
Yeah.
Because we've seen Jacoby Myers have good games against the Broncos, but I am so comfortable with Riley Moss on Jacoby Myers. That's going to be fine, especially with Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball. I'm not concerned about that. Brock Bowers, is he a guy, is it easy enough to say, Pat, you're on him all game? Or is that a little more difficult when it's a tight end?
Yeah, it's way more difficult just because, he's good in the running game too, so they're not just going to pass the ball with him all the time and now pass to come in the box. He's responsible for a gap. He may have to take on some pullers, and you don't want Pat doing that.
Right.
So I think it's better to put a safety on him or a linebacker on him with a safety over the top. You can run some different coverages too to double team him. But if you put Pat on him, it just opens up a can of worms that you don't necessarily want to deal with, I feel like.
I agree. And then you can just go single on the outside with everyone and then double or the safety over the top like you were saying. Even last week, Brock Bowers had his best game by far of his career. Todd, he was targeted 16 times, had 13 catches, 126 receiving yards, and a touchdown. That's an incredible game for anyone. From a tight end, that's nuts. From a rookie tight end, that's insane. That's got to be one of the best games from a rookie tight end ever. Yet he did that, and the Raiders still only scored 19 points and lost to the Miami Dolphins 34-19.
Well, he was targeted 16 times. I mean, they probably weren't throwing the ball anywhere else. But like I said, it's all about your quarterback, even if you have one star player. And it's tough for a tight end to really take over a game because there's not too many routes where I can just beat you one-on-one over the top like a wide receiver can.
Right.
Wide receiver with 13 targets, with 13 catches, they may have almost 300 yards.
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder to do from the tight end position, but he's playing really good ball, man. I know he's in the running for Rookie of the Year, too.
Yep.
That just shows how well he's playing.
Yeah, 100%. Their second leading receiver last week with Brock going off was a running back who had 50 yards, Alexander Madison, out of the backfield. And why the Raiders are so bad, especially in that game, they ran the ball with their top running back wasn't even their leading rusher. Their leading rusher was their wide receiver, Jacoby Myers. He had 20 rushing yards. Alexander Madison carried the ball 5 times as their leading running back for 19 yards. Zamir White ran the ball 5 times for 9 yards. Miami Dolphins are good. They're not Broncos defense good. No. So that is just, whew. I was going to say I feel bad for them, but I don't feel bad for
Never.
them. And it should be that type of game for the Broncos. And I think Broncos Country isn't, we're still a little worried about like getting trapped and overlooking teams. You can trust this team. You can trust this team to take care of bad teams. They've taken care of every bad team they've played at least since, week 3, moving on. The Saints they took care of, demolished. They beat the Panthers. And there was a very interesting stat that I saw yesterday that I want to tell you, Todd, and see if it makes you feel a lot better, or it doesn't make you feel any different about this team, because I was surprised when I saw this. And before I get to that stat, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays, where our friends over at Shady Rays got you covered. Whatever sort of sunglasses you want, they've got you. They're all polarized. They have so many different options, literally hundreds of choices over at Shady Rays, including ski goggles. Ski season's coming up. You ski or snowboard, you definitely need ski goggles. Why not check out our friends over at Shady Rays, where one of the best things about Shady Rays, I already mentioned it, they have a big selection. They're also so affordably priced already, and they're going to hook you up with 35% off by using the code DNVR over at ShadyRays.com. It's a perfect gift for yourself, or with Christmas coming up and the holidays, if you want to get someone a pair of sunglasses, check out Shady Rays and get yourself 35% off while you give that gift. Shady Rays has their guarantee, which is so nice. You can return or exchange for no hassle. So head to ShadyRays.com. Use code DNVR for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself, where over 300,000 people have given them 5-star reviews.
And shout out to Blue Chew. They say first impressions are important. What about lasting impressions?
Oh.
That's where Blue Chew comes in. And if this is new and you want to be considered Rookie of the Year like Bo is, go get yourself some Blue Chew. Blue Chew helps boost your confidence in the bedroom so that you can stay hard and perform at your very best. Oof. They say the first impressions are important. What about lasting impressions? And that's where Blue Chew comes in. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay $5 for shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Yeah, you ready to go?
Blue Chew.
The Broncos have been ready to go, Todd, against teams this year. I saw this stat from Mike Kliss, so I want to give him credit for this. Todd, the Broncos are the best team at blowing teams out. Is that shocking? Blue Chew.
I don't know what that means. Well, how is the defense good at blowing teams out? Because they don't score points.
That's a good point. Here's the stat. According to Mike Kliss, Broncos are 6-5, but lead the NFL with 5 wins by 14 or more points. The Bills have the next with 4 wins of 14 or more points. And of course, the Broncos did this. Their 5 wins were against Tampa Bay. They won 26-7. They beat the Raiders 34-18. They beat the Saints 33-10. They beat the Panthers 28-14. And they beat the Falcons 38-6. What do you think about that? The Denver Broncos have the most blowout wins in the NFL.
I mean, this defense is playing well. And it seems like maybe the offense is doing a little bit better than people give them credit for, because obviously they're putting up some points. Some of those were teams that, like we said, weren't the best. But nevertheless, I mean, defense is doing their job and the offense is putting up points.
Yeah, I mean, the most in this stretch that the Broncos have given up in those 5 games was 18 points. That's the most among a 5-game stretch when we're sitting here 11 games into the season. That is incredible. They've held 2 of those teams to single-digit points. They held the Falcons and the Saints. Or no, they held the Falcons out of the end zone. And when you really look at it, the Tampa Bay 7 points, I think, was legitimate. The Raiders was part of their 18 points garbage time. Probably some of those had to be. The Saints, they got a garbage time touchdown at the end of the game, or else it would have been 33-3. The Panthers got a garbage time touchdown at the end of the game, so that really should have been 28-7. So we're looking at truly, when the Broncos have been playing, they've held all of these teams outside of the Raiders to single-digit points. So you talk about, I mean, typically blowouts, a lot of credit goes to the offense, but the defense deserves a ton of credit here.
No, they've been playing really well, man. And they've been playing it as a unit and finding ways to win games and get to the quarterback. That's the biggest thing. I think teams are scared right now of our rushing attack. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to game plan for it or scheme against it.
Yeah.
And it's really been, a positive for us.
Nick Bonito could eat this game. It coming off the edge, especially if they're able to make them one-dimensional on the defensive side of the ball, and they can't run the ball. They're running the ball for 1 yard per carry in the first half. They're going to just abandon it, and then that's not only going to help with the takeaways and Pat Surtain getting a pick 6, but it's really going to help with Bonito just continuing to rack up those stats and take over Trey Hendrickson. He's 2.5 sacks back of the NFL lead, which is wild.
Yeah, once this team, the Broncos, are able to get into the lead, the Raiders have to abandon the run. I think that's why, for some reason, they gave it up last week, is that when you're down, the easiest way to get back in the game is just throwing the football. And, you're not going to run the ball because you're not going to get very many yards anyway. You have a lot less hope in your running back. So if they can just get up, maybe by 14 points against the Raiders, it's going to cause them to throw the ball probably on maybe first, second, and third down, at least second and third down.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to get after the quarterback a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. Let's look at the Raiders' defense, because you talk about getting up 14 points, how that could be so key just to an absolute blowout here. The Broncos can definitely do that. The Raiders have the 4th worst scoring defense in the NFL, giving up almost 29 points per game. That is really bad. And it just gets worse for the Raiders. They have an okay pass defense. That's the only thing on their defense that's not awful. Okay pass defense. They have a really bad running defense. They can't stop the run, which we talk about how the Broncos, it's important to make teams one-dimensional. They're not able to do that with a bad run defense. So the Broncos can be two-dimensional here. And then where it's really bad, they have the fewest takeaways in the NFL. So I mentioned over these next 2 games, let's get Bo to 5 or 6 touchdowns and 0 or 1 interception. He should be good this game. I'll touch wood for that, but I mean, he should really be okay in this game. The Raiders just simply do not take the ball away.
I mean, he's had the luxury of going against 2 not even average defenses in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This week and last week. I think he really could take advantage of this team. We block who we're supposed to block up front. There's not much more to this team besides that. So, should be a good game for Bo Nix, being able to utilize his receivers. He's really starting to find connections with, his young guys. Franklin and Vele and even Cortland is still playing at a really, really high level.
Yeah.
Like, we have enough weapons on offense to really demolish this team. So, hopefully it's our first win in Vegas. Hopefully nobody parties too hard because they're in Vegas, but I think it's good.
So what's good about that point, Todd, the F1 race is in Vegas, and it apparently shuts down the city because it just takes over the streets. They have to block everything off. So because of that, the Broncos will not be staying on the Strip. They'll be staying far away from the Strip.
Be staying far.
And yeah, they probably should be doing that anyways. But I think when the Broncos played the Raiders last time, they stayed in Mandalay Bay.
No, there's no way.
I think they did.
No, it's too much action right there. I've heard. I don't know.
I don't know.
But it's too much.
You're not
going
playing
on down
anymore.
there.
You're okay. You could be out there now.
No, I'm married. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
You have a coaching
Too
career to
much
think
stuff.
about too.
Yeah. They need to be staying at the Palms or in Reno or something.
Yeah. That's where,
Circa,
oh man,
Circa.
that's where when they had the Super Bowl there last year, obviously both teams are there for an entire week.
Yeah.
Both teams stayed as far away from the strip as you could possibly be.
It's too
Probably
much of
for
a
that
distraction. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much, and it never sleeps.
Yep.
So you got some guys on the team who are kind of night owls. Like we have security on every floor, but got some sneaky individuals too.
Even when you're not in Las Vegas, some stuff can still happen. One of your teammates was sent home before Super Bowl 50 in where were you guys? Santa Barbara?
Yeah,
Santa Clara? Yeah, Santa Clara,
Yeah.
for getting into some interesting activities.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good the Broncos will be staying far away from there. Todd, we're talking about it. I got to ask the question. I brought it up earlier this week, and you kind of rolled your eyes at me for even suggesting it.
Me?
Yeah, you. Do the Broncos have to win with style points in this game?
No, they just have to win. Do they have style points? We have style points? Yeah. We have style points to give?
I mean,
That's the question.
they have had styled wins. Panthers, Falcons,
Yeah.
and the Bucks were all kind of like style wins. Like they did it with a lot of oomph at the end of the day, right?
This past week?
Yeah, this week, yeah.
Yeah.
Panthers, Falcons, like they have three.
Yeah, they could.
AFC South.
I'm just yeah,
exactly.
It's too. Yeah.
Yeah, AFC South plus there's one other team. Oh, the Raiders, yeah. Yeah, NFC South and the Raiders. Love it.
Yeah.
The Raiders fit right in with the NFC South.
Maybe they need to make a change. It should be a good day. So by style points you mean that like it has to look good, right?
Yeah, pretty much they dominate
They
them.
want like you want like a 50-yard pass, a 70-yard screen. You want like a punt return from Marvin Mims.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. All of that plus like a
We're getting greedy,
a
man. We've gotten
blowout
greedy
win.
so quickly.
I'm just asking a question.
Like we
I
barely
haven't
could get
even
wins, and now
answered.
it's like we need to like just dog
Whoa,
people.
I haven't even answered. So what's your answer?
We can't. I don't know if there's. We haven't had any of those like plays yet that I can think of. But we do score. Like the screens that we've had to Vele and Troy Franklin. I mean, those were like 12 yards. You know the run.
Yeah, it's true.
The run that Javonte had. I thought it was awesome. They carried him in, but that was 12 yards. Like
It's true.
let's 12 yards. I'm good. 13. That's style for me.
So Sunday, what time's the game? This is an afternoon game. You guys will be doing the post-game show at 5:30 p.m.-ish. Sunday at 5:30. The Broncos win, but it's a close one, and it doesn't look pretty. There's no style points. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good because I've been in the AFC West before. Like I know, like you said, the Chiefs will play the Broncos back in the day, or even the past couple years. Close game, Chiefs go on to win the Super Bowl. It's not because the Chiefs are bad. Didn't mean the Broncos were really good at that time. It's just sometimes in these matchups when you're playing a division rival, it gets close, it gets tight, it gets gritty, and you can't really explain it.
That's totally fair. And you in the chat are just jumping on me right now. I haven't even answered the question yet.
Oh, my bad.
And my answer is no. The Broncos don't need style points. I agree with everything. I agree with everything you said, Todd. Like it's the AFC plus. The Broncos haven't had a winning record. They have a winning record right now.
Yeah.
They have not finished this season yet, and they haven't had a winning record since 2016. Haven't made the playoffs since 2015. This team is still building, and I love the way that they're building right now. But if the Broncos win by 1 point on a last-second field goal, the conversation will be like, "Whew, thank goodness they got that win." But it's gonna be like, okay, they got the win. On to the next one. If the Broncos in 2 years are a Super Bowl contending favorite and you lose to you barely beat the 2-8 Raiders at this point in the season, let's say the Broncos are 9-1, then it's going to be like, man, what's wrong with this team? Like the Chiefs are kind of having those conversations like, man, we barely beat the Broncos. It's good we beat them, but like, what's going on right now? And then obviously they lose last week. The Broncos aren't in that conversation right now, and this is such a good time to be a Broncos fan because style points mattered so much in the Peyton Manning era. It was like, man, if you're not... The Broncos got booed when they were beating the Jaguars at halftime. They got booed off the field because they were like an 18-point favorite and they were only up like 7 at halftime. Like, it's a fun time to be a fan when your team's really good, obviously, but it's just like there's so much to lose, nothing to gain. Right now, there's so much to gain for the Broncos, and a win is a win for the Broncos right now. So I guess I set it up like I was going to say the opposite, but no, I agree with you guys. Don't need a big win for this game, although I think that is going to happen. I think the Broncos are going to win this game. Before we give our picks, Todd, what's the key to this game for the Broncos?
I mean, because of how the team's set up, I don't think there's really any keys because you could say passing the ball. They're okay on passing as a passing defense. But for me, I feel like it's running the ball. Like, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Not a very good run-stopping unit on defense. And our running game has been okay, and I wanted to have just one game where, like, you know what I'm saying, the guys running the ball did their job, and they really balled out. And I think the Raiders team, especially how it's set up right now, is a good time to do that. So I don't know if it's a key, but it's my key. Like, that's what I want to see.
I like that. I like to see. Maybe you're looking for a little style points. You're like, I just don't want the win. I want some running here. I think that's a huge one, Todd. And I think for the Broncos to just simply win this game, Rodney Garcia says force takeaways. I think that's the key to a blowout. I think the key to just winning this game is not drastically losing the turnover battle. I think if the Broncos end this game -1 in turnovers, they still win. 2 or more in the negative category, that's when any team can beat any team in the NFL, is when you lose a turnover battle that by multiple. So I'm going to say that's it. If the Broncos don't lose the turnover battle by 2 or more, they will win this game. They're at 0, they cover the spread. If they're at 1, even just +1 or more than that, this is going to get away from the Raiders, and it's going to be a blowout win for the Broncos. So let's break down how we think this game is going to play out. Will the Broncos win? Todd, the spread is Broncos -6. I want to get your thoughts on that after I give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365, where if you want to get in on the Broncos -6 in Las Vegas, you can do that with our friends over at Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Deposit $10, place a $5 bet. You're going to get $150 in bonus bets, which you can use on anything, including this Broncos-Raiders game and Altitude Plus, courtesy of Bet365, and of course Altitude Plus lets you watch the Nuggets and the Avs games, many of them. So check them out. And there's some good ones, man. I'm gonna give it away. I love Broncos -6 in this game, but then there's some also good bets. Bo Nix passing yards is 205 over at Bet365. I think he's going to blow that out of the water. The Raiders do have an okay pass defense, but it's okay. It's not world-beating. Bo Nix has been throwing for 257 passing yards per game over this past month, so if you want to get in on that, I like that bet. We're going to have a boosted bet over at Bet365 this weekend for the Broncos game, so keep your eyes out for that. Of course, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And shout out to Rugged Road. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions. Whether you're on land or water, Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. You can get ready for summer's adventures and winter's adventures with Rugged Road coolers. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DNVR for 10% off your first order. Lightweight, durable, and always floating upright. Perfect on land or in water. So leave that old heavy cooler at home and get yourself a better cooler for new seasons. Rugged Road, your ultimate outdoor company.
And shout out to Bet365, our presenting sponsor as well. Okay, Todd, Broncos -6.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
It's definitely not enough. You know what I'm saying? What have we been this year? Like plus 10 against the Ravens. I mean, okay, that one was right. But,
how about the Chiefs? Plus 9.5?
Yeah. Like, we're a way better team on paper than the Raiders. But I mean, that's maybe everybody knows that this may be a tighter game than what they expect because of an AFC West matchup. But nevertheless, I mean, like, come on, give us a little bit of love. Like, -9 would be like more realistic.
I totally agree with you. I'm right there with you. I don't know if there's actually no real line that they would set. They're not going to set this line at like -18.
Yeah.
The most they would probably go is 9.5, 10. And even then, I still like the Broncos here. This is a 2-8 Raiders team that is, the 2-8 is generous for what type of team they are right now. Again, they're on a 6-game losing streak. They fired their offensive staff. They haven't got any wins since firing their offensive staff. And it really seems like just after hiring Antonio Pierce as the full-time head coach, he is going to be fired after this season. And they are on track for the #1 overall pick in this draft. I got the Broncos winning this in a blowout. It's going to look similar to some of these other blowouts, too. I got the Broncos winning this game, Todd, 30-6. I think the Broncos, for a second straight week, keep a team out of the end zone. And we're going to be talking about a Broncos defense that is doing something historic after this game, because in the past 3 games, if this score holds up, the Broncos will have allowed 28 points in a 3-game span.
Dang.
That is insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. As I go back over this Raiders schedule of their previous games, like, I think 6 is a little disrespectful. I mean, they lost by 15 last week. They lost by 17 the week before that. They lost by 7 the week before that. They lost to the Steelers by 19. And then, of course, we beat them 18-34 the last time we played. Like, come on, guys. I don't think 6 is enough. So let's go with a blowout.
Boom.
Broncos 42. Woo. Raiders 12.
Raiders 12. I absolutely love it. And what a way for the Broncos to get their first win in Las Vegas. Last year, Sean Payton was asked about a lot of streaks that the Broncos were on, bad streaks. The losing streak to the Chiefs before that was snapped. That was still going on in Sean Payton's tenure. The losing streak to the Raiders. The Broncos hadn't beat the Raiders in Las Vegas. Still haven't. And Sean kept calling them humps. And he would say, that's not my hump. I came in here and we've lost 1 game to the Chiefs right now.
My hump.
Exactly. It was like he was singing that song. Is that Fergie?
Yeah, that's Fergie. Yeah.
Black Eyed Peas. I know my stuff.
Black Eyed Peas is not like a group you get credit for, though. For like,
What about Birdman basketball player?
He was here in Denver, though.
He was.
And all you do is watch sports. You have to know Birdman.
Yeah, I don't get credit for that one. And he kept saying, it's not my hump. And then the Broncos broke the Chiefs streak. Yep. And so then that hump was broken. The Broncos broke the Raiders losing streak. That hump was broken. This is the final individual hump that the Broncos need to break, is beating the Raiders in Las Vegas. Then there's 2 other humps that Sean and the Broncos need to overcome. A winning season, which it looks like they're on track for, and making the playoffs, which it looks like they're on track for. So in 2 years, Sean Payton's about to get rid of all of the bad humps that the Broncos have had. And Ryan and Henry both like the Broncos to win this game as well. Henry's got him winning 31-10. Ryan's got him winning 27-13. So Ryan is the biggest non-believer in this group. Only a 14-point win. And that's what I was saying. Like, I think even a realistic line set at 10, I would still be taking the Broncos here. I haven't seen, unsurprisingly, anyone in the Toyota chat who is picking a close game, who is picking the Raiders to win this one. And that's kind of why this is so important for the Broncos to win this game, Todd. They dropped this game, and the season's still alive, of course, but like, man, the Broncos have done such a good job beating bad teams. You have to continue that if you want to kind of have an easy-ish path to the playoffs here. You lose this one, and man, that's going to be very tough. What does that say you hear? Oh, I thought you were sending a message to us there. I thought it was a little cryptic message.
Morse code.
So those are our picks for this weekend. Todd, there's 2 other AFC West games here. One of them is incredible. One of them is awful. The Chiefs get to bounce back from their first loss of the season and play the Panthers in Carolina. We speak of big spreads. This is an 11-point spread for the Chiefs. We're just picking these games straight up, so I assume you're going Chiefs. Is that a fair assumption?
That's fair.
Yeah, everyone's going Chiefs on this panel. What do you think about the 11? I'm not going to hold this against you, but do you like that, or would you take the Panthers plus 11?
Give me the Panthers plus 11. They'll probably end up losing by like 9 or something.
I like that. Go Bryce Young. I would probably still take the Chiefs here. Man, the Panthers are so bad. The Chiefs aren't as good as their record suggests, but coming off a loss, I think they're going to want to show people that they're good. And unfortunately, it has to happen against the Panthers. And then the great game, the maybe the best Monday Night Football game of the season is the Harbaugh brothers going up against each other. You got the Ravens going into Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. And Todd, this is an awesome game from just a competitive standpoint, but it also has potential big implication for the Broncos too. We'll get into that, but who do you like in this one?
Who won last time? Jim? Or no, John won last time, huh?
Was that the Super Bowl?
It was a long time ago. Yeah. What?
That was?
It was the Ravens versus 49ers.
That was the Super Bowl. Wow.
Yeah.
And the Ravens won, so that was John.
Yeah.
Yep.
You think Jim wants a little payback?
Oh.
He's been thinking about it for the last 10 years.
Great point.
Yeah, give me the Chargers. Let's see what they do.
Oh, man, I was hoping that you went with the Ravens. I wanted to get a game up on everyone because Henry and Ryan are going with the Ravens. The Ravens are a 3-point favorite, even on the road. I don't know why. The Ravens can look like the best team in the NFL, unbeatable, like they should be undefeated, and then they lose to the Browns, and then they lose to the Raiders, and you just don't really know which Ravens team is going to show up. I don't know why. I just have a feeling that, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, the bad Ravens team is going to show up in this game, and it's still going to be a close game, but the Chargers will end up winning this game. That's on Monday night, so we can talk about that game on Monday as well. But Todd, who do the Broncos want to win this game? Right now you have the Chargers as the 5th seed in the AFC. They're the first wild card, sitting at 7-3. Then you have Baltimore at 7-4, and then you have the Broncos at 6-5.
I think they want the Raiders because, I mean, like, with the back half of the schedule, the Ravens, sorry. We could still overtake the Chargers. Like, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So I think if the Ravens beat them, then we both lost to the Ravens, and they'll be 7-5.
Yep.
And we'll be 7-5 after this game.
Yep.
I think that's what they would want.
I'm going to go the opposite direction and say we want the Chargers to beat the Ravens because the Ravens have that tiebreaker with the Broncos. So I'm trying to view this as how can the Broncos get as high up in the wild card standings as possible.
But if they take the Chargers spot in the wild card.
So those are the 3 wild card teams right now: Chargers,
Yes.
Ravens, and Broncos.
Yep. So we can only move up one spot with
2.
either team.
Since Broncos are the final wild card
Yes,
spot
so the
now.
final. So
Yeah.
we can move up.
Oh,
you're saying if
I'm saying long term.
Yes, yes.
So my vision for this is the Chargers win, which Broncos wouldn't be able to catch them this week. But then that would just make that game against the Chargers that much more important because if the Broncos win that one, then the Chargers no longer have a tiebreaker. It brings the Chargers and Broncos back to nearly an even record, and it pushes the Ravens down a little bit. I think if the Ravens win this one, man, it's going to be tough for the Broncos to catch them just because the Ravens do have that tiebreaker over the Broncos. Regardless, this isn't as big of a game as the Chargers-Bengals one was last week. Either way, one team ahead of you is going to win and one team ahead of you is going to lose. So plenty of weeks left for this to shake itself out. I don't think there's like a drastically right or wrong answer here. But it's a big one. And Todd, tonight, from a scouting purpose, Broncos get to watch the Browns play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we won't pick this one officially, but I was shocked The Browns are going or are hosting the Steelers. What would you guess the line is? The Browns are 2-8. The Steelers are what, 8-2 right now? Yeah, the Steelers are 8-2.
Steelers are favored by 8 points.
That's what I would have guessed too. Steelers are favored by 3.5. So they must think like just on the road Thursday night.
They're not blowing out a lot of teams. I mean, Russell Wilson's still Russell Wilson.
Wow,
and like the defense.
shade.
Well, the defense is the one carrying that team. Well, that's what it is. Like they barely beat Baltimore. Russ had a chance to end the game, and he threw an interception in the end zone.
He did.
I mean, to be fair, the past 2 games, they won by 2 points. They won by 1 point, but those were also against the Ravens and the Commanders. A 7-2 team when they played the Commanders, and 7-3 team when they played the Ravens. I see what you're saying here, but man, that line just smells so bad. It seems like, man, you just pound the Ravens on or the Steelers on that one. But I don't know. But we get to see the Browns, and the Browns have like so much time off. Their next game after tonight is the Broncos game on Monday Night Football in 2 weeks, which is crazy. So I'll be tuning into that game to see if the Browns are any threat at all, if Jameis is any threat at all, like he was when they played the Ravens, or if the Broncos will pick him off a couple times.
You never know, though, with Jameis. Like,
it's so true.
You could watch this game, and he could be complete trash, like utterly garbage, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, like a really bad game. And then that next week he'll come out firing on all cylinders, looking like he could be back to his old Jameis ways, leading the league in touchdowns. Like, you never know.
That's why the 30-30 season happened.
Crazy.
It's like he was too good to bench. He was doing too much good to bench, but also just like had to be so maddening. 30 interceptions is not. Drew Lock led the NFL in interceptions when he was on the Broncos, I think at 15. Jameis had double that, which is wild.
It's too much. Yeah, but you never know what you're going to get with him. So
yeah,
you scout if you want, man. I just will show up ready to play.
Yeah. You know, I agree with that. That game is at home. So Broncos, 1 game on the road, 1 game at home. Then their bye week. It just feels like the Broncos don't have a bye week this year because it's so late in the season. We just get in a routine and on a roll, and they'll have it. And 2 weeks from now, they will be off. We got a couple of super chats to hit before we get out of here. The first one coming in from our friend Haha. I like that name, Haha. Says Straws equals 2 holes. Go Broncos. You hear? Do you agree with that?
I'm not gonna make myself like sound stupid today.
Wow.
What do you mean?
I think it's 1 because it's a cylinder, right?
Yeah.
But people say it's 2 because there's 2 ends. So
I don't think there's a wrong or right answer. Or it can be no holes.
No, it has to. There's a hole. Yeah.
There's a hole, you think?
Yeah, it has to be a hole.
Why?
Because that's what a hole is.
But like,
the cylinder has a hole. That's what. No matter if the hole's small or not, it's a cylinder. Even if it's a piece of paper, it's still a cylinder.
But some would say like a hole has an ending.
Nope. What makes a hole have an ending, though?
I don't know. Someone has made this argument before.
No, but like if you make a hole with your finger, right?
Yeah.
This is a hole, right?
Not really.
It's a circle?
Yeah, it's a circle.
So it's a long circle?
It's actually a hole because there's a depth to it, so it makes it a hole. Also, I shouldn't be going like this.
Yeah, whoa. You hear, turn your
like
camera on if you're going to show that.
Yeah, I don't think a round, something that meets at 2 points and has an opening at the top is considered a hole.
Round with an opening isn't considered a hole?
Is considered a hole.
Is considered a hole. What about if I open that Coors Light?
There's a hole in the bottom. That's why you can drink it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a hole at the top, but not at the bottom.
You can make one at the bottom. It's still a hole.
But that would be 2 holes. I mean, that would be another. That would be another hole.
Yeah, this is tough, man.
I would say it'd be another hole because it's not one continual structure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a straw doesn't like change its form between the top and the bottom. So that's why
true.
It's just one hole.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I don't know.
Man, we got to have a whole podcast on this in the off season because
Maybe
it is
it's 2
complex.
holes.
Yeah, exactly. See? Or no holes. The next one coming in from our friend Jordan, who says Broncos win 31-9. Raiders continue to spiral, but get the first overall pick, downgrade their quarterback room by drafting Shador, remaining laughing stock for years. I can tell that our friend Jordan is not a CU Buffs football fan. We love the super chat and love you rolling with us, Jordan. Another one from Jordan too says, or one from Wyoming Cowboy says, Todd, don't let Vance Joseph even consider becoming the head coach of the New York Jets. Don't even let him interview. Every opportunity is better than that opportunity.
I can't control what VJ's going to do. But if I had advice, I'd probably say don't go there to be a head coach. Go somewhere else because they look like they're in a rough space.
And there's a reason Sean Payton said ownership was the most important part where he went, because you see what's happening with the Jets. It doesn't matter how good of a coach you think you are or you are. If you don't have control and power, then you're toast.
Yeah.
Next one from Jordan, who says, you left out another hump. Sutton needed about 58 yards per game to finally get another 1K season. Exactly, Jordan. And Sutton is now on pace for that, which is awesome. He's flipped his season around this past month, which is great. And Mr. Rocket rounds us out by saying, watching the Woody Johnson drama in New York recently has just made me thank God that the Broncos hit the jackpot with competent owners who are the richest. It's a great combo to have.
It's fun being the richest.
It is.
Broncos are the richest.
Yeah, Broncos are the richest. And thank you all for joining us this week. Todd's going to have the pregame show, the tailgate going live just before kickoff. So tune in about 1:30, 2 on Sunday, and then, of course, postgame show. You guys have a great weekend. We will see you on Sunday.
We all silly like the mayor.